Hello, it's Scott Picken, CEO and founder of Migrate, and I want to bring you this weekly wealth insight. And it's really interesting. You know, we literally in the first week of the second half of 2019, and we're about to go in to a new decade. You know, when you think about what you were doing 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, whenever you go into a new decade, it's a big thing. And this wealth insight is really interesting because poor people tend to react. You know, when the world changes or economically, or you have a global crash or a currency devalues or you have a Brexit or anything like that, poor people react. You know, the middle class are literally, you know, tend to follow the masses. You know, there's a great analogy that a guy called Willem van der Post said, you know, when you think of, you know, buffaloes and, you know, herd mentality, and it's like you got one buffalo and a fly comes down and it bites the buffalo on the bum, and the buffalo turns and runs. And the other buffalo looks at that buffalo running and thinks, oh, there must be a lion, and so he runs too. And then the other buffalo sees it, and the next thing, the entire herd is running just because a fly bit it on the bum. And that's very much the case of herd mentality and reactionary. The difference is that wealthy people are proactive and they are strategic. You know, when I take my uncle as an example, you know, he in 2003, he immigrated to Australia from Zimbabwe. You know, after all the chaos, Zimbabwe, the entire country had fallen apart. The currency had hyperinflation, literally in the millions of percent. I mean, literally, currency had become absolutely worthless, basically. And what was interesting is that he bought his way into Australia at the age of 55 or something, which is very difficult when you're older like that. He bought his way into Australia. He bought a house for cash. He put his kid through a private school. And what I always joke about is he never had to work for Australia. And how did he do that? Well, it's because he was proactive. It's because in 1980, he set up his first offshore bank account, and whenever he made money, he invested offshore in first world assets with a first world income. And that allowed him to become a global citizen. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about people being proactive and strategic versus reactive. So I want to share with you just quickly some slides, and you know, this is a very quick wealth insight, so I'm not going to dwell on this a lot. But the Japanese have come out with a concept called Society 5.0. It was, you know, the main thing that was spoken about in Davos this year at the World Economic Forum. It was also the major topic at the G20. And what it is that we've moved from a hunter society to an agrarian society to an industrial society to the information society, and now we're moving to the creative society. One where there's going to be digital transformation and people's imagination and creativity of diverse people. And ultimately, that's going to allow us to solve problems and to have value creation. When we look at the SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals, and basically what the UN wants us to solve by 2030, the number one is no poverty, which is what we're working on. You know, there's a whole breakdown, and go and Google Society 5.0 of where the world is going and why society is going to be so much better for us as a planet and for individuals in terms of as we move into this next decade. And when you look at this new society, there's a new humanity, one of problem solving and value creation, diversity, decentralization, resilience, and sustainability built on nature's principles. There's a guy called Roger Hamilton. I highly recommend you go and Google Roger Hamilton and look up Entrepreneur 5.0. He's talking about what do you have to be a businessman or businesswoman, you know, in terms of the next decade. A breakdown between insight, income, impact, high touch, and high tech. And then from our perspective, something that we're going to be going really deep into over the next 6 months so that people can prepare is this is our investor test. And ultimately, it was built on the I Ching, which is over 6,000 years worth of knowledge coming out of the East. It's based on nature's principles. You know, sometimes laws, you know, are man-made laws and they don't make sense. But nature's principles are irrefutable, things like gravity and things like working together, you know. And ultimately, it's built on the fundamentals of investing, real estate, and wealth. And, you know, you can break it down into the what, which is your mindset and knowledge, the how, which is your systems, the who, which is your connected quotient, the when, which is your financial quotient, and then ultimately your purpose in terms of the purpose quotient. And then in terms of preparing for, you know, Wealth 5.0, we've then broken that down into 5 major areas where you've got your impact, you know, which is all about your purpose and your sustainability, your creativity and your value creation, your high touch. It's all about collaborative smart investing, working together, using technology. It's all about high tech, AI, big data, VR, crypto, blockchain, etc., and exponential technology. And then it's about digital and problem solving and future proofing. And we talk a lot about how we want to put smart investing in every single person's pocket. And so, if this is something that's interesting to you, remember that poor and middle class people react, whereas the wealthy are proactive and they're strategic. We are moving into a very exciting time. We are moving into a decade which is going to be full of economic and financial disruption, but that presents tremendous opportunity. And if you are ready, if you are planned, if you are strategic, then you will not only survive the next decade, but you will thrive. And that is my invitation to you, is to come on a journey for the next 6 months as we prepare for the next decade. And so that's this Wealth Insight coming from our office down here in Cape Town. And I'm really excited about moving into the second half of this year and preparing for the new decade. If it's something that excites you, please share it with your friends. We want to empower at least 1 billion people, and we can't do it on our own. If you like it, just subscribe to the channel. We bring out these Wealth Insights every single week. And if you want to be part of the community, you want to take a step in the right direction, join our Wealth Inner Circle. Go to wealthuniversity.org. And you can see our Wealth Inner Circle there. It's a global community of like-minded people that are growing, learning, investing together, and most importantly, preparing for this next decade and preparing for Wealth 5.0. See you next week. That's Scott Picken signing out for another weekly Wealth Insight. Cheers.